There have been a whole bunch of videos out on the internet talking about different game streaming platforms, but no one's actually played the games or compared them to what's really out there on the market. So today we're going to do just that. We're going to play a bunch of different games and dispel the myth that playing games on a streaming platform, it's really all not that bad. Hey guys, Turk here. Hope you're having a good one. If you're a PC enthusiast like myself, you're probably hesitant on dipping your toe into the online game streaming platforms. You might have even watched videos about Google Stadia, but today we're going to talk about the dark horse in the market and also hopefully dispel the rumor that, game streaming sucks. The technology has gotten so good, it's almost indistinguishable. Of course, the service I'm talking about is Shadow. It's the fully featured gaming PC that's based in the cloud. I've done a couple videos about it in the past, and we'll use that technology as our baseline for testing out these different games and just how they compare to real-world gameplay. All of my testing today was done on our $600 budget PC. You can find the link down below on that video. I don't have a lot of time to test things, so I picked 5 games on a broad spectrum of tests. On one hand, we got real-time strategy, slow-paced kind of action, and on the other, we've got high-octane battle royale games. Hopefully we picked enough that'll cover you guys. If I didn't, let me know down below in the comments. We'll try and test those out in another video. For strategy, Civilization 6 is a no-brainer, well-known franchise, slow gameplay, really looks good, and it just made sense to pick that game. If you're looking for a MOBA or other types of RTS, even Minecraft, they'd probably perform just as well as Civilization 6. For single-player experiences, I picked Doom Eternal and Shadow of the Tomb Raider, mainly because Doom Eternal plays well on a whole bunch of different types of hardware, and then Shadow of the Tomb Raider is a very demanding game for DirectX 12. I picked those both. A bunch of the different action RPG or even single player campaign games should fit in this segment. There's a huge range of first-person shooters on the market, and I picked 3 that hopefully cover all our bases. The first one's going to be Overwatch. It's going to be our competitive game. It's really fast-paced, but really low-end on the graphical requirements. And then bumping up to Apex Legends, we got about a medium graphic requirement there, but we toned down the speed of the game just a little bit. And then on the high end for graphics requirements, we've got Call of Duty. We'll be playing single player and multiplayer, and we'll be showing all of these games, guys, live recorded from our Shadow gameplay through our capture card. And again, if I missed a game or if there's any other games y'all want to see, let me know down in the comments. So let's get to it. Starting us off today is Civilization 6. Clearly, this game is simple to play with the P5000 GPU that Shadow provides with its Shadow Boost service. And 1080p 60 frames is a walk in the park. More importantly, with the slower tempo and the gradual movements, the gameplay is practically identical to hosting the game on our personal PC. Another critical point, slower gameplay means that the visual experience induces less encoding from the data center. With that, the game looks just as real as it does when at home.
No man ever wetted clay, and then
Overwatch stands in for our lower-end competitive shooter and requires fast reflexes. But let's go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room. Will streaming the game make the gameplay suck? Well, as it turns out, it's not that bad. Granted, playing as Ana is not my strong suit, but I can land sleep darts and I can also hit critical heals when it counts. The additional 10 millisecond ping from Shadow is not a major nuisance. The fast gameplay does wreak havoc on the encoder, so we do encounter a little bit of visual distortion, which is combated by increasing the bit rates to higher levels. Doom Eternal is a stellar game and proves that modern games can play on a broad spectrum of hardware. At 1080p, we can play at the nightmare detail level and still maintain pretty smooth gameplay throughout the first few arenas. Just as with Overwatch, latency isn't a huge detractor for my skill level, with sticky bombs landing for the most part where I aim them. What is really amazing is how well the visual experience translates onto my monitor, with only minor snags and bumps from keeping me from being fully immersed.
The cleansing of Earth is a necessary step on the path to a brighter tomorrow.
Our first Battle Royale game is going to be Apex Legends, and this covers games that are fast-paced and require moderate gaming hardware to run.
Reloading. Oscar Mike, I'm spotted.
Attention. First round. Countdown.
I downed a hostile. Look at the map. The next ring is far.
I'll admit, I got pretty lucky on this run, but suffice it to say that the Shadow platform did not hinder me in getting these early game kills.
Kill leader.
More friends are coming to kill us. There's another squad. Enemy down.
Graphically, the less detailed environments are easier for the streaming service to handle, and overall this game fits pretty comfortably in my Shadow library.
Attention. The champion has been eliminated.
What is this place?
Let's bump up the graphical demands to the max. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is a de facto DirectX 12 benchmark in the industry for a reason, but you can only learn so much from an automated benchmark. Going through the first demo area, I am amazed with just how good this game looks. What boggles my mind is this is all recorded from a game streaming service. Latency is negligible, frame rates are within reason for the highest detail settings here at 1080p, and we can likely get a similar experience with Fallout, Elder Scrolls, or quite possibly even Cyberpunk. The culmination of our journey is going to be Call of Duty Modern Warfare. This modern title covers both high-end single and multiplayer gameplay, and I'm just shocked by how well it plays. The single-player Piccadilly map serves as our benchmark, and at 1080p in high settings, I can barely tell that I'm streaming the game from a data center. I do observe a few encoding artifacts due to the high motion, and details become a bit muddied, but for the most part, pretty flawless experience. Going into multiplayer, we're going to jump into a ground war game mode, and we clearly see how bad I just suck at this game. With so much activity going on in the game, latency is baked into the equation and I am immersed in the combat. Mouse movement is a bit sluggish as I'm scanning for enemies, and the graphics continue to encounter hiccups we observed again in the single player campaign.
Allied cruise missile away. Securing C.
So now that we got the games out of the way, let's talk about how they rank. So we're really looking at how these compare when it comes to gameplay versus real time on a local machine. And that's going to be on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is this potato does not compute, and number 10 is, oh my gosh, I'm jacked into the Matrix. With Civilization, clearly that's going to be scoring a 10 because the gameplay is so slow. We see very little video artifacting due to the encoding, and then latency just doesn't impact our inputs because it's just that slow of a game. So I'm really curious how this is going to impact other RTSs, MOBAs, because maybe they have a little more demanding time requirements. I don't know. Well, it's something to look forward to in another video. Overwatch is a high 7 in my book. I clearly don't recommend it for anyone doing competitive gaming, but if you're just going to do quick play or if you're going to team up with your squad for the night, I give it a solid recommendation. I don't recommend playing any high precision shooting like Widow or Ana. Definitely adjust your gameplay or even your classes entirely to help mitigate some of that latency. But, it's still a pretty good time to play. Doom Eternal translates very well to the streaming platforms and lands a solid 8 in my recommendations. We do see a couple frame drops and some snags with the graphical quality, but I think the input latency is not as drastic as it could be. It's a very solid gameplay, and especially it's single player, definitely enjoyable. So Apex Legends scores a 9 here, but it just barely gets there. The gameplay is a little more slower, a little more calculated, but when you do get into those gunfights, there's a little bit more leniency just from the gameplay mechanics that input latency is just not as critical. So it's a much more enjoyable experience, and I actually do recommend you guys installing it if you've got Shadow on your own PC. Lara Croft might be a 10, but Shadow the Tomb Raider only manages to get a 9 here, mainly just because we got a couple graphical glitches from frame drops or frame skips. So the Shadow hardware actually does a really good job of translating all of that image quality to our computer, but just once that technology gets ironed out even more, there's potential for some really good gameplay there. Call of Duty does pretty well here. I went ahead and scored it a 7. In some of the game modes, primarily single player and Warzone, the slower and more calculated gameplay actually benefits the Shadow service and kind of helps mitigate some of the issues. But once you get into like gunfight or ground war, that's where we start to get our immersion goggles and things start to get a little muddied. If you're a hardcore player and you're expecting your performance to translate just with the really high time to kill, the input latency is really going to hurt you and your reaction times are going to suffer. So for a casual gameplay, it's a pretty solid experience. But again, it's just not as good as a real thing could be, Well, guys, I don't know what else to tell you. 1080p at 60 frames per second from an online game streaming service. That is amazing. Each of these games played exceptionally well, in my opinion. If you're wanting to try out what PC gaming is like, or if you don't want to, dive into a $600 PC right off the bat, this is a pretty solid recommendation in my book. Even if you're an intermediate gamer that just wants to do some casual gaming on the side, that's a pretty good option. But if you're wanting to do competitive play, or if you're really looking to get high performance, high octane gameplay out of it, you might want to hold the phone for a little bit. Shadow is planning on upgrading their servers. If you subscribe to their Shadow Ultra or Shadow Infinite service, once it comes out this summer, you'll get access to RTX 2080 or better graphics cards, equivalents of course, and they're also getting new processors that boost up to 4 gigahertz, as well as increased storage capacities. If you're looking for a higher end gaming PC that's based in the cloud, maybe those are a good option for you. I'll put some links down below in case you want to get in on those pre-orders. But that's all I've got for you guys. I hope you liked this video. Hit the subscribe button down below and also hit that notification bell. I'm going to start pumping out videos at least once a week going forward, and I'm really hoping you guys enjoy it. So thank you very much. I hope y'all have a great day. Take care, guys.